You're watching Straight Black Love Talk with your host, DC Radical One, the home of intelligent, mature relationship conversations.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to SBL Talk. I'm your host, DC Radical One. You have my apologies for the late start. I was having issues with my StreamYard. Um, they wouldn't allow me to get started. So hopefully, people that went to the other stream, hopefully they'll find this one. Brother, you got ripped off. If you could just send it out in a Telegram again. Um, you know, that situation is unfortunate because I think I would have got a lot of views. So I sent the link out to a lot of people. So pretty much this is just going to come down to depending on how many people show up will depend on how long I'll be on tonight. I had a headache before I got started, and once I had the issue with StreamYard, I had a bigger headache. So I had something that I really had wanted that I thought was interesting to discuss. But we'll see how much I get into it tonight. Y'all know how SBL Talk is. It's supposed to be interactive. I'll start off with a few slides, and then we'll go from there. And per usual, while I'm trying to get my music to load up, which just seems to be more and more issue. Music, because I can't hear anything. What it says is playing. So I guess that maybe I need to turn my headphones up because I can't hear. All right, here we go. Anything. All right, so this discussion tonight is something I thought about, and I said, I'll address it because I wasn't sure. Y'all know I didn't do SBL Talk last week, and I didn't know what I was going to do this week. And then this thought came up, and I thought I would address it because BB Foley, Sister Najee, BB Foley, to Sister Shamir. As you all know, I've been in the movement in multiple iterations for the majority of my life. But this last iteration of the movement, what I would say the rise of, I'll just say the 21st century movement, but I really say starting in it around 2010, the middle of the Obama administration. If there was one flaw that was had, right? And I'm glad I got some of the sisters in here that are in here, and I hope more show up. The one flaw that the movement had that was that most people didn't see, BB Foley and Brother Tony, was the failure in this last iteration, the last 10 years, BB Foley, Brother pro-black and plant-based, to capitalize on the movement to create pro-black families or African-centered families, or whatever terminology you would like to use. It was a failure. And when I thought about it, I just thought of it as just an intrinsic failure of the movement. But then when I started to analyze it and look back upon what happened, because I was there, a different story emerged. So That's what we're going to talk about. Because in order to understand where we are, we have to understand how we got here, and we have to look back on what happened 348 to the ISP. So it's good to see people are finding the new stream trickling in. Like I said, my apologies for the late start, and I had to take down the other stream and bring it back up and all that type of stuff. But we're gonna be all right. Tonight gonna be a good night. I ain't gonna be on that long because I had a headache, like I said before I started. And StreamYard gave me another one. So, but as I was saying, that what I saw as a flaw in the movement was not organic. It was the result of an attack. And here's something that happens, right? When you're in the movement, you don't always see the attacks as they occur. But sometimes you have to look back. Now, sometimes you can't see them as they occur. One thing, like the best thing about Brother G, in my opinion, is generally speaking, he sees the attacks before they occur, but he definitely didn't identify them as they occur. Everybody else don't. Everybody didn't have that ability. So we're going to get into this discussion. We'll try to get through this in an hour and then open it up for for dialogue. So started off with our straight black pride pledge. Okay. Says, pledge allegiance to my straight black and proud ancestors and to the culture and traditions which they founded. I vow to practice those traditions of straight black love, family building, and nation building to the best of my ability, using all my life's energy, intelligence, and creativity. I also vow to do everything in my power to protect black men, black women, and especially black children from sexual abuse, homosexuality, exploitation, and miseducation, as long as I am mentally, physically, and spiritually able. Lastly, I vow to fight against any force, physical foe, ideology, or philosophy which threatens the straight black and proud culture, regardless of origin. This I pledge in the name of my African ancestors and the divine creator. Ashe. As y'all know, every SBPM event, this is our pledge. I came up with it and was assisted with the final form by Brother G. Now, we always have to say this. We always talk about the importance of marriage because that's the goal, that's the end game, and that's the standard set by our ancestors for this time immemorial for thousands of years. And I always remind people of that because when I see dialogues on the internet between black men and black women, this end game is not discussed, which means all discussions about this end game being discussed are thus irrelevant in the eyes of our ancestors. And whether we know it or not, many times in the eyes of our children, because they just look at us like we're crazy, they just don't say nothing. Right? Now, in traditional African and traditional African American culture, marriage was an expected part of adulthood. Notice was means past tense. In many African societies, you were not considered an adult if you were not married, and you certainly couldn't become an elder. I believe Elijah Muhammad said a long time ago that a man without a wife was like a one-legged man. The family was considered the foundational institution of society. There was no debate, and I gotta find this John Henry Clark quote, but there was no debate about the quality of men and women as each had their jobs to do for the society. Dr. John Henry Clark had a couple of quotes in regards to male-female relationships. I got to try to track down the sources so I can put those up. Anyway, as a reminder, during enslavement, black men and women would often escape and try to find their spouses and children, risking life and limb. Black people would buy their loved ones from the enslavers with money that they saved up working overtime. Get the money to buy their spouses and their children's freedom. I always put that there as a reminder of the lengths that our ancestors went through to maintain black love. And we are epically failing at a rate of over 50% divorce and a rate of with 70% of people not getting married. And we have this weird competition where the 30% of black men getting married are looking down on the 27% of black women getting married, as if that's some great difference, and makes the men better than the women, when that's if it's baseball, 30% is good. You know what I'm saying? But in life and football and any other sport, 30% accomplishment is you suck. It's plain and simple. You know what I'm saying? It's epically failing. You know what I'm saying? You can't be in the NBA shooting 30% from the from the field. But we celebrate it. Yeah, 30% of black men are married. Yeah, and 50% is divorced. So in essence, it's 15%. So it's even worse when you do the math. Absolutely complete and total failure in every way, shape, form. And it can't improve until we admit that it's a failure, right? But in order to admit that it's a failure, you have to recognize what the standard is. And the standard is a sorrow set story. You know what I'm saying? The standard is black man, black woman, and black child. The standard is marriage for life. That's the standard. And we're failing to meet the standard. You know what I'm saying? We're like like a football team that has won Super Bowls in the past but hasn't won anything in 20 years, and they're talking about what they did then. But I'm like, yeah, but the standard, you're not meeting the standard now. Like, something needs to change. You stink. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful to Sister Simone. So yeah, I always put that up as a reminder. Y'all know me and my sports analogies. All right, so let's check it out. The early 2000s. The early 2010s. Late 2000s, early 2010s. There was a resurgence of pro-blackness. Now, here's what's crazy. I've been alive so long that I was born in basically like the end. Can I say the end? Yeah, pretty much the end of a period of racial uplift, a rise in racial esteem amongst black people. You could, if I were to take the time periods, I would say from approximately 1955, where you had Ghana emerging from colonialism, starting the fall of the colonial structure, and here in America, pretty much go to 1955 is pretty much like the rise of the freedom movement, which will become the civil rights movement, which will give birth to the Black Power movement. So you're talking about from 1955 to about 1975 or so. So that was for us in America, that was a long period. Greetings to Black Renaissance. That was a long period of racial uplift, and really black people going to war for their freedom, like going to war with America. I want to rehash that whole history, but of course, like I said, you had rise of Martin Luther King, you had the Nation of Islam coming on the radar, with Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad. You had the rise of Robert F. Williams, Deacons for Defense, so forth and so on, all the way up into Feast Street, Black Protestants Foundation. So, okay, people are finding the stream. I'm glad you all have found it. My apologies for the confusion. I had to end the first one because it would not let me log in and stream. So I'm glad you all are here. So yeah, we had that time period into the 70s where I really kind of count pretty much the destruction of the Black Panther Party and the collapse of the Nation of Islam as the ending of that time period. But it was still a 20-year time period. So that's a long time of fighting for a whole generation. I mean, we got to give those elders and ancestors credit. Now, in the what happened basically is that in the late 80s and the early 90s, we saw a resurgence of pro-blackness again. And what happened is it seeped into the music. So you had the New York scene, and in New York, you had Dr. Amos Wilson, you had Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, and these great luminaries, right? And so you also had hip hop was around, and you had the, of course, the Nation of Islam's rise. Dr. Khaled was in New York, I believe, at this time, magnetizing the youth minister Farrakhan. Would come to New York. He had a big giant rally in 85 in Madison Square Garden. I believe it was sold out. So you had this energy, and it seeps into the hip hop, and so you get the hip hop groups. You get Poor Righteous Teachers and X Clan and Brand Nubian, King's Son, and Rakim Shabazz, on and on and on, right? Public Enemy, of course. I don't know how I started off without them. And they sparked the rise of consciousness amongst the young people. It was already in New York, but amongst the young people, because they were putting out these records and everything, that sparked a rise, right? So we're talking, like I said, mid 80s through, weirdly enough, pretty much through the Million Man March. It sounds crazy when I think about it, but the Million Man March was literally like the beginning of the end of that iteration of Black consciousness. And then so Minister Farrakhan starts to diverge and start doing his thing, and other groups really, like the nation, had kind of taken the air out of the movement, because everything became centered sort of around them. So when they started pivoting, it kind of left a lot of people in the lurch, and so the movement kind of went back underground, back to the core size, because that's kind of like expands and then goes back to a core. And there's always a core of Black people who are resisting and organizing and doing work and teaching and training and all that, right? It's always happening, but it shrinks and goes underground or whatever, right? So again, after that, late 90s, you got another generation. 15 years later, you get to the late teens, and when Obama comes, the movement really doesn't know how to deal with him at first, right? Because how do you just openly attack the quote-unquote first Black president? Now, y'all know Brother Genie. He attacked him. You know what I'm saying? Because he knew who he was. But that's for everybody else, you caught off guard and you put on the back foot, because you've been saying how bad the country is and how bad racism is, so on. Then all of a sudden, what appears to be a black man gets elected president. It's like, oh, maybe we don't know what we're talking about. So that would set the stage, weirdly enough, for the uprising and the uptick in blackness in around 2010. And we all know what happened. The major thing that happened, the minor thing that happened was social media and the internet and people getting on YouTube, different people being able to come on and the rise of Sonnet and all that. That was a minor thing. The major thing was, in my opinion, Trayvon Martin. The murder of Trayvon Martin woke up a new generation who have been told about integration and multiculturalism, and then with somebody their age or somebody that looks like their younger brother, or somebody that looks like their older brother or their cousin or whatever, is just blatantly, openly murdered for no reason. It shook their whole foundation and made them realize, oh, what I've been taught is not real. It's not sweet out here. And so, if everybody was around, you just remember that changed everything, right? So for those people who already had a message, it just, it made people turn around and pay attention because you already had a message. Those people that were already organized, and people want to join their organization. So that tragedy, straight black pride to Teru Kemet, that tragedy gave rise to a new era of pro-blackness, right? And man, I'm supposed to be going through the slides, but I'm not even reading the slides. I'm just going off of memory. And then I'm looking, I'm like, oh yeah, I did basically cover the slides by going off of memory. So after that, the Mike Brown assassination took place. And the whole rise of that movement in St. Louis, with Brother D. Seals and some of the other brothers and sisters there, and they just had an uprising. And here was the bad part. The good part was it was an organic uprising of just young black people that saw it and then heard about it, and they was like, nah, this is not going down like this. We not having it. Just straight up, right? Them brothers and sisters, before they, the brother Elijah, them brothers and sisters were strong. But here's where the first seeds of the infiltration came in. And I think that's the next slide. I was on Twitter at the time, right? And on Twitter, people were putting out the information about what was going on in St. Louis after Mike Brown assassination. The thing we didn't know, right, until Brother D. Seals got a chance to speak. I remember Brother Jenny interviewed, is that the people that we saw on Twitter, who would later become D-Ray and some of them other people, I can't even remember the other people. That was the I ain't gonna say it's the beginning, but low key it was the beginning of being able to see the infiltration of the movement and the rainbow assault on the movement. Because of course D-Ray became famous. He was all over MSNBC. He was a homophile. I guess eventually Black Lives Matter became a thing. Of course, they were Zionist controlled homophiles. And the real movements were being pushed to the side and choked out. And we know now about all the money with Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, right? We know all that. So one of the biggest things that happened, I'll never forget this. Well, all right, let me try to at least follow the script a little bit. Before that, the Uhuru movement, right? And even some local churches here, like man, I can't even think of the church in Southeast. Sister Najee, if you in here, what's the church in South? What's Willie Wilson's church over in Southeast? Union Temple Baptist Church, right? Union Temple Baptist Church used to be African Centers. They started pushing LGBT, and had been for a while. I just didn't know. I found out later. The Uhuru movement, which used to be strong, they were the ones that put, I call him Gazy Coco. I always butcher it on purpose. The one that just got arrested for that Black Hammer group down in Atlanta that was out here violating men. They had men down in the closet violating them and whatnot. Yeah, that's a real thing. Yeah. Just look up Black Hammer group movement, Gazy Coco, whatever you call it. So in fact, this is what's deep, right? I remember going to an event held by I can't even remember the group, but it don't matter. But anyway, the founder of the Uhuru movement, Omali Yestatelli, he was there, and so I'm pretty sure it was something relationship wise was the discussion, right? And so somebody spoke about, the educated woman, the educated nation. This is one of our proverbs. And he tried to debunk that proverb, right? The proverb is, and I'm paraphrasing, when you educate a woman, this is an African proverb, you educate a nation. And he disputed that. This is before he revealed that he had an open homophile as his spokesperson. I remember seeing it and looking at him and thinking, yo, there's no way you can consider yourself an African man and dispute this proverb. This is proverbs said by our ancestors. These are facts based upon observation for thousands of years, right? So then, I remember going to one of the events to scout and see what was going on. Man, it was crazy. A bunch of homophiles and some Europeans. That's what was happening, right? So I was like, all right, whatever. We see what type of time they on. Then 2015, I never forget this. I was the millions, whatever they call it, the Millions More Movement 2015. Those of y'all you remember, put up one in the chat. I had the TV on. It was on like C-SPAN, CNN, whatever, something. I had the TV on as I was getting ready. I'm pretty sure I was rocking all black. I know I had a black hoodie. It was October. I had a black hoodie. I had my black hoodie with Africa and RBG and all of it. As I got the TV on in a different room, and I'm getting dressed and getting ready, they announced that that libation was going to be done by African priest, right? And they announced the dude as Baba Kwabena Cheeks. Now, besides the name being funny, you like, okay, DC, why you remember Kwabena Cheeks? Because the dude's name used to be Rainy Cheeks, and he's an open homosexual. And he was involved in an incident, basically a low-key brawl at Union Temple Baptist Church, when people was taking a stand against LGBT, right? So this open homosexual gave the libation at a Nation of Islam sponsored event. So that's why I remembered it. And I had remembered the dude's name. So I was like, wait, hold up. So literally, I'm running in to see the TV to see if I was tripping. And I saw him. I was like, yo, hold up, what's going on? Anyway, go to the event. Go out there, see some different people, catch up with some people, whatever. And the event goes on, and then next thing you know, and I do not have a video. And I'm gonna tell you the reason I had a video, because I didn't want to wait through 2 hours of that event. I know it was directly at the end. I could have downloaded and found it. And maybe I don't know. Maybe if I chop this up, I'll show it. But anyway, Mr. Farrakhan said to my LGBTQ family and all this stuff, and basically welcomed them into the movement. And then there was a video of Melina Abdullah, right, who I think just ran for I think she just was like somebody's vice presidential candidate or something, if I'm not mistaken. She was Cornel West's vice presidential candidate. All right, check it. She was one of the ones negotiating with the Nation of Islam to bring LGBT into the Black Power movement. Now, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad had warned about that back in like 2001. Yeah, can y'all hear me? Hold on. Hold on. Can y'all hear me? Give me a 1 if you heard what I just said, so I know I'm not just talking to myself. Okay. I'm going to repeat it again, because I ain't getting no feedback. Maybe everybody remembers this and they like, yo, man, why you telling us this already? At the milk, before they had a video showing Melina Abdullah negotiating with the Nation of Islam to bring LGBT into the Black Conscious movement, right? She just ran as the vice presidential candidate underneath Cornel West. Come to find out that she's not even Black. She's half a half, right? So she's running around with a Muslim name, but she's half Black and half a half. Okay? Pushing LGBT. So that happened. The next thing that happened, I don't know if I got, maybe it's in the slide. I don't know. All right. So it's not in the slide, but we can talk about it anyway. Let me take this back off. The next thing that will happen, right? What's the name? Bang Booty. Africa Bang Booty. I don't call it Greek Bang Booty. Call it Africa Bang Booty. That thing happens. That thing pops off, right? In New York. We go to New York. SBP and go to New York. Jenny like, nah. We're gonna go up there, we're gonna rally everybody, we're gonna put this on the table, put it before the people. So that happens, right? He comes down, he tells us, he gets us, we rally up, we go to New York. It's like May, but it's cold as I don't know what up there. I was rocking like a light hoodie or something. I don't know. I was free. It's 2 times I've been to New York in supposed springtime, and both times I was underdressed. That'll never happen again. Right? So we get up there and everybody's represented. This is what was wild. Like, you had all, basically anybody that ever been on something that us thing was there. Right? You had rosters there, you had Hebrews, you had, what I'm saying? Different Hebrews, because they got mad Hebrew groups up there. Everybody. But who wasn't there? The Nation wasn't there. Now, mind you, we were there to rally against what appeared to be rampant abuse of young men for years, right? So this at least got to be investigated. Like, yo, what is going on? Okay. I think it was the next day. Like we went to New York on a Saturday, and I think Sunday, Wesley Muhammad is at Mos Mariam challenging straight black bride to a measure of manhood or something wild, like just attacking us from the rostrum of Mos Mariam. And we like, yo, what is going on? Right? But they had made that deal with the Rainbows and whoever else, right? Some other people behind the scenes. Y'all ain't got to. I ain't got to say it because I can show you the receipt of who was paid or whatever. But y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So at this point, and thus moving forward, as it says, the only groups who publicly and vociferously stood against the rainbow assault on pro-blackness were SBPM and Baba Rudy's Ichabod Institute. Most other groups and conscious celebrities either kept quiet or eventually bowed down to the rainbow. I'm gonna keep it 100. One of the dudes that was standing strongest for a long time was Umar Johnson. And then next thing I know, I look up and y'all are telling me, people sending me messages and stuff. Man, Umar said that James Baldwin is smarter than Malcolm X, or better than Malcolm X or something. And I'm like, man, what are y'all talking about? I'm about to defend the dude, and then I see the information out, and I'm like, look, let's just be completely honest here. James Baldwin was a rampant homophile who was in a relationship with William Styron when they wrote that scandalous, disgusting, filthy attack on our prophet Nat Turner. Greetings, Brother Jimmy. Right? That's who James Baldwin is. Literally bending over and giving evil an opening to Urugu. Like we don't get no props to no people like that, even if we thought it was true, which it was completely false. Right? So your man Umar took an L on that. I don't care what you talking about. I ain't on here to take shots. I'm on here to tell truth and tell y'all what happened. Because I know the next generation is eventually gonna come along and be like, hey man, what happened with why y'all didn't do? So I'm giving the history. Because I was there. Right? Now, in the midst of this whole rainbow assault on blackness, SBPM, we started having straight black singles events. You know how I know? Because I was the one that organized them. Now, did I steal the idea from somebody else? Absolutely I did. They were doing it. They stopped doing it. I thought it was a good idea. I picked up the ball. I made the events. Some were successful and some were not. Right? That's what happened. Baba Baruti, they were down in Atlanta. They were teaching classes on manhood and womanhood and complementarity and all that. We picked up the torch and carried it forward. Now, a lot of people and groups didn't think that focusing on that was important, but it was even more important than I realized because we were under assault. I wasn't doing it because we were under assault. I was doing it because I looked at it. There was a problem. Here's a solution. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's plain and simple. When there's a problem, you did come with a solution, right? Now, the goal ultimately for me was to attempt to build families, because every generation before us that had a movement, the movement was black men and black women together, and most of the leaders of those movements were married. It just was what it was. And as we were developing, it's kind of dawned on me like, we're not following in that same vein to the same degree. Now, one of the things that has happened, just being completely honest, and I can only speak from the places I've been. I have been everywhere. I haven't seen everybody's quote unquote conscious community, so I don't know. But one of the things that has really always been the case in DC, being completely honest, is that there's always been a higher number of women than men who are interested in the movement, regardless of ideology, right? It's just been that's just been the way it is. Like, generally speaking, if you pro-black or whatever, you kind of had to take a regular woman and convert her consciousness, or at least make the attempt. I've seen many brothers try that and fail miserably, and some destroy their lives, and some get taken out of the movement, all types of stuff, right? It is what it is. I've seen it. You know what I'm saying? I've lived that fight years ago, and it is a mighty task. They try to take a sister without knowledge and try to get her to understand your worldview. And one of the things that has to happen in order for you to be able to do that, you have to be strong in your foundation. Like, you have to be sure, whatever your ideology is, that is the actual truth, and you're going to build your whole life around that. If that's not the case, that woman's not. She's not, and especially she don't have knowledge. And she's not paying no attention to what you're talking about. Ain't gonna happen. She'll be with you for you. She'll be with you for whatever it is about you that she likes, whether it's physical, material, psychological, whatever. But she's still gonna make it a living hell in the long term. This is just a fact. I'm telling you what I know. So real quick, let me just say, this is SBL Talk. I'm your host, DC Radical 1. Follow me on Instagram at DC.Radical1, on Twitter at DC Radical_ONE, on OTW2, which is a black-owned platform, at DC Radical 1. And if you are of means and you be so kind, you can donate via Cashapp at $DC Radical 1. I'm gonna be perfectly frank and open with y'all. All the live streams for the rest of this month are fundraisers, because we passed the YouTube pay threshold too late. So we just raising funds via Cash App for the channel. And I don't see Brother Sydney. There's somebody else I'm looking for. I don't see. But I'm currently editing one of Brother Jeannie's events and one of my lectures, and clips of that will be sent out next week. By the way, dude, because it's only a handful of y'all, did all the members, did y'all check out the members only clip that I released a couple of days ago? Y'all give me a 1 if y'all saw that, because I was just doing that as a test. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay, brother. Thank you. All right. So one of the issues, man, and this is what's funny. Hold up. My bad. Pause. This is what I'm going to do. I got a clip from Bob Baruti. I mentioned him, but I didn't show it. So I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to show this clip from Bob Baruti so you can see the types of things that he was teaching, and I'm assuming still is teaching. So, but for those who aren't familiar with him, you can get familiar with him. So I don't know how we do. Let's get ready to say we pause the music. Did we pause the music? Yeah. All right. Pause the music. And we load up the clip of Bob Baruti on complementarity.
What does it take for someone, an individual who is faced with absolute destruction, who's faced with total annihilation as an individual to confront insanity? What does it take for two such individuals to come together to form one unit where they both individually are assaulted and as a couple or complementary pair will be assaulted even more to decide to come together to confront insanity? What does it take for these two individuals, knowing what's out there, knowing what awaits anything that they produce, to procreate, to bring a child into this insanity? What does that take? I would argue that it takes a warrior spirit. I would argue that it would take these individuals clearly understanding that they are their ancestors and a strong desire to be African. I was brought up to believe that a man is someone who can stand. Whether you got 40,000 people behind you or zero, and that 40,000 people is in front of you. I was raised to believe that a man is supposed to stand on his own 2 feet, no matter what anybody says or does, if he knows that he is correct. I believe the same thing applies to women, and I think our history bears that out. So tonight, this evening, I want to talk about a number of things having to do with that couple who has come together, or men and women who are thinking about forming a couple, and what they will have to deal with. And part of this discussion will focus on differences between complementarity between Europeans and Africans. And I use this word complementarity very necessarily. We operate as Africans under a collection of principles that were given to us by the goddess Ma'at. Ma'at was the goddess of truth, justice, order, balance, righteousness, reciprocity, and a whole collection of other things in the pantheon of of African gods and goddesses. Complementarity is the process whereby two individuals, because we're talking about couples here, two individuals, a male and a female, come together, understanding that neither one is perfect, that each one is lacking. They find that individual who has what they don't have. If I'm on the front line and I have bullets, then I need somebody who's got a gun. So you look for that individual who has what you need, not to make you whole because you're whole just because you are you, but you look for somebody who can help you to fight this war better, who can help you to stand on the front lines taller. That's what complementarity is all about. The African universe is about order, balance. It's about bringing things together in a procreative fashion. In this society, we're so used to saying opposites attract. European mentality, competition, at war, intimacy as a power battle, let's say, relationships as a fight. This is expected. When you go into a relationship with someone and you expect to battle. Africans didn't say opposites attract. And maybe I'm putting words into their mouth because I have no record of this, but I'm sure if they didn't say it, they shouldn't have thought complements attract.
So that was Bob Baruti. Babo Mwalamu Baruti. Really, you got ripped off if you could put so that, well, first of all, I owe that elder a lot. He greatly helped me redefine and reconceptualize what it meant to be an African man, and a warrior scholar, and what it meant to do this work. So I owe him a debt of gratitude that I can only pay by teaching and organizing and training. I can't pay back with anything else. And, you know, I can also support his books and stuff. He greatly appreciate that. So, now, yeah, I brought that up because so y'all can see, for those who don't know, who he is and what he represents, and just as a representation of the work that he was doing and is doing, right? So we were, you know, part of a small collective of people that were fighting back and trying to maintain black love and push black love and push straight black pride and straight black love and black men and black women, right? So while that was going on, one of the things we didn't see, or I can't say we didn't see, but didn't focus on, because actually it was a brother that mentioned it, you know, rise of feminism, especially amongst the younger women, but not just amongst the younger women, because as we see now, we got women in their 40s and 50s and, you know, started the whole divestiture crew and everything like that. But you know, it had been put, you know, been pushed into school. Feminism had been pushed into school from probably the whole 21st century, to be honest. And unless you were in schools and gender study classes and women's studies classes and all that stuff, you didn't really see it. When I realized that this is why I did the Dr. Welsing lecture, the Goddess Black Woman lecture, I literally created that as a counterbalance to this assault that was taking place. And I think the first time I did that was it was either 2018 or 2019. I think it was 2019. I think the first time I actually did the lecture was October 2019, I think. And then it became dedicated to Dr. Wilson. But anyway, in addition to the whole rainbows, and I saw rainbows in people's movements, causing confusion in people's movements, and the rainbow males were like attacking the black women and accusing them of improprieties with money and all this type of weird stuff, which the sister didn't understand. They didn't understand when I would tell them. This is different organizations that I've seen it a couple of times, right? And I'm telling them, I'm like, yeah, because it was a rainbow. That's why they don't like you. That's why you call this confusion. And they didn't, they didn't understand that time. They just didn't grasp it, right? So that was a thing. Then, scandal started happening, and sisters started talking about the divestiture stuff, and even before the movement really kicked off, I never forget that this happened to the Trayvon Martin Day, right? So the way I found out about the Trayvon Martin Day, I probably told the story before, I'm telling you. I was on Twitter. This is when Twitter was popping with black. And this was when the Trayvon Martin thing happened. There was a sister on there telling everybody to call the say they got a black boy and they holding his body, and call to the police station so they can either get him to release the body, or I can't remember though what she wanted us to do, but she wanted us to call the police station. So Yeah, I called the police station. But I ain't doing nothing. I'm on this social media stuff, and yeah, whatever she talking about, this is wrong, and yeah, let's do something about it. Right? I can't pick up and go to Florida, but I can do something. I can make a call. So anyway, what's her name? Cola Booth, right? I don't know if y'all know who Cola Booth is. She's a very weird looking woman. I'm using the term woman loosely because I'm not really sure what's going on. She told the sister, right? The sister that was telling us to, call and whatever. She said, I don't know why you, and that's just like, I don't know why you making all this hullabaloo. Because if the boy had grown up, he would have grown up to oppress you. Now that was basically my introduction to Black feminism in its rawest form, right? I never forgot that. Here was who we would learn to be Trayvon, or he had been, as they say now, unalived, assassinated by what we thought was a European, which was really a hat, right? Named Zimmerman, who had done nothing, 17 years old, had his whole life ahead of him, was not doing anything, right? Would blatantly just gunned down for no reason. And I'm gonna just say this for those of you all who have sons, sisters, you have a son, as soon as you can find a reputable self-defense teachers, martial arts teacher, boxing, MMA, whatever, get your son into that. Try different ones, see which one you like. It may save his life. It's imperative that our sons learn how to destroy their enemies. It's just, I don't know what else to say. You have to have empty hand skills as well as weapons training for our young men, especially in the environment that we're going into the second Trump era, which looks like they're just going to be openly anti-Black because they just don't know what to do with themselves. And eventually it's going to come down to our young men. So just put that out there. I just thought about it. Thought about the Trayvon thing. Some MMA skills could have saved his life. But it could have just choked that clown out and kept on about his business. Anyway, another thing that happened, man, was several brothers in the movement that were married, their marriages dissolved, and that rocked the foundation of a lot of brothers. I'm not sure what it is, sisters, but a lot of brothers were like, wait a minute, if this man, somebody who we look up to, and like I said, there's several brothers, wasn't just one. Depending on what environment you're in, their notoriety is big or not big. So their marriages dissolved, and it rocked people. It shook people's belief, shook their foundation, right? Because to the men, at least I can only speak from the man's point of view. If you see a man that you look up to, and you look up to him, his relationship and his family and the work he's doing and everything, you see that dissolve, you begin to question things as far as, if this man can't get, this is what we think, if this man can't get no cooperation from his woman, what chance do I have? You know what I'm saying? That's what you start thinking. Or if this man couldn't find the right woman, or if this man can't maintain his relationship, or however you want to look at it, then how the hell am I supposed to? Because I had brothers like Literally, we had these conversations, right? And I mean, it is what it is. Like, part of being the vanguard of anything is when things go good, you get the praise. Things don't go right, you get the scrutiny and you get the attacks. Right? Because as Amos Wilson says in the clip I'm about to show, our relationships affect the community, and our relationships grow out of the condition of our community. Right? So our relationships ultimately belong to the community. And so I'm gonna play this clip about Amos Wilson because I found it real profound. I had to cut it down because it was even more into it. And so yeah, I'll play this Amos Wilson clip real quick.
So when we love as men and women, as sisters and brothers, this love also is rooted in community and is necessary for community functioning. Love, romantic love or whatever love, is not a selfish undertaking. And it should not be perceived as something just between you and your partner. It moves beyond that. It's going to influence more people than just you and your partner. It's going to influence the community itself. And consequently, then, the community has a right to concern itself with the so-called nature of love. Love, along with the related concepts such as oneness, and we see people wanting to get a sense of oneness when they're in love, unity, uniting, being together, identity, identifying, becoming one with the person you love. It becomes interesting. We talk about love in terms of blood relations. And yet the person you marry is really not your blood relation in actuality. But yet somehow that love, if it's right, becomes as strong or sometimes even stronger than blood relations, you see. So because love tends, as we see it in this culture, to unite and bring about identity between two or more people that goes beyond their biological relatedness, that often is stronger than their biological relatedness. Love, along with commitment, caring and sharing, belonging, relatedness, commonality, having things in common, is that which creates a community, is that which supports a community and maintains a community. So then the thing that keeps a community together is, of course, the nature of love that inheres in its families and between its families. And ultimately, the nature of love that is put out toward the community itself and toward one's people. And all of this influences the nature of romantic love. When you want to destroy a community, when you want to destroy a people, as we will talk a bit about later on, you destroy the nature of their romantic love, destroy their ability to love one another in a healthy sort of way. And we will see. When you see and you think about the problems we have as people and as individuals in loving each other romantically, you must recognize in good part that problem and those problems have been set up by a political social system. Because we shall see that love, the love that we have for one another, is the greatest threat to the people who rule over us. And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why Even if you're concerned with your individual love for your boyfriend or your husband, you cannot separate that love from what is going on in the world, politically and socially, because the nature of that love is defined by political, social circumstances. And if you can't understand why you have problems in your love relations, perhaps a good part of it is because you have not taken time to understand the nature of the political, social situation in which you live, because you have been made to think that your love is merely the concern of you and your partner and not rooted in what is going on in the world. Love is a part of the world you live in. The community ultimately defines love anyway. You see, many of us are raised in this culture, and we've been raised to think love is something just natural and just flows out of living. I'm speaking now particularly of romantic love. But actually, you have to learn how to love. Love is taught to you. You teenagers, you're being taught what love is. How are you taught that? You're taught it by listening to these records all the time. And you hear your idols singing about love. You make me feel so good. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't live without you. And then what do people say? I must be in love. You see? And
Bob Amos Wilson. And here's something that's really profound with what he was saying toward the end, right? He said love is learned, right? Which it is. In the first place you learn it is within your family. Now, if you grow up in a dysfunctional family, or you grow up in a family that is missing one half of the foundation of the family, be it man or woman, you grow up without, because there's some people now that's growing up without mothers, you grow up without father, you don't see that interaction. Before they to raw eye to vital, you don't raw eye to vital, can you do me a favor? Can you make sure you shoot me an email to my Proton mail account that is going to come across the screen in a moment? I want to send you a copy of one of my lectures, because you did donate a nice sum of money, I believe, last time I was on. But if you're talking about learning love, and so if you don't learn healthy love in your relationship, because one half of that dynamic is missing, then you get into the modern environment where we talk about learning love from media, right? Especially young people. We're even a worse condition, because at that time, I'm not sure the year, looked this sometime in the 80s where he was doing that. There was at least love music still being made. Love music was still on the radio. When I was a little boy, The Quiet Storm was created, or maybe it was created before I was born, I don't know. But anyway, it was a whole late night radio program that went around the nation, and it was all love music, right? So the music that was before I was born up into whatever was the current at the time when I was a little boy, that was what The Quiet Storm was. And I remember my mother would turn on The Quiet Storm, right, at night. So yeah, I'm supposed to be asleep, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Quiet Storm was on. And they used, the theme was a Smokey Robinson song, who I heard the name, but actually I don't think I actually knew who he was at the time. So it started with Smokey Robinson, and like whatever was the song, like I remember one of the, I think it seemed like they used to end with Moments of Love. To this day, I have absolutely no idea when Moments in Love was written, by whom, or anything. It's just one of them songs that just always existed. You know what I'm saying? But my point being is, in the current environment, we don't have those things, right? So one of the things that took place as we were growing up is, as hip hop came about, it started off, part of the caller response used to be yo ladies and yo fellas, right? Respected women, and people had songs dedicated to women, even in hip hop. And hip hop, took its NWA turn, and all the disrespect of women that happened. And then Neo Soul happened, 95. Talk about this before, I think, with Brother G. D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, to a degree, the Roots, and Dwele, and all these other people. And love music re-emerged. But now, in the current environment, Jill Scott, Jilly from Philly. I saw her. She was with the Roots when she was nobody. I saw her at a Roots concert, and they were like, this our girl Jilly from Philly. Like, literally, that's what they said. I don't even think she had signed on yet. But she had wrote the hook for You Got Me. So that's why I always remember her from, right? Seen the Roots like 4 times. But anyway. So, that kind of changed the culture. But recently, in the last, I don't know, I'll say the last 10 years or so, maybe not even that long, but the musical culture has changed to the degree that women are making what should be ballads and love songs, but they're cussing an N-word in them and talking about how much they hate men. You know what I'm saying? Just having to be to a slow beat. And a lot of the dudes don't look masculine, so we don't know who they're singing to, right? I mean, of course, again, this is not the first time. Like, Little Richard existed, and what's my man's name? Everybody found out he was singing to a whole man. The one that with Freddie Jackson, Luther Vandross, Freddie Jackson. So yeah, the undercover thing, that was new. Like, the people that we thought it's so crazy. People in the industry that we thought was suspect was more men than the people that we thought was men. But anyway. So because of the current environment part, to me, in my mind, and I know I'm kind of off on a tangent, but whatever. One of the things that has really contributed to the negative environment and this rise in anti-Black love is the music, right? Like, there are artists that I listen to. Actually, it's mostly women, but there's some dudes I don't even know who they are. They just come up in my feed when I listen to music. There are people still making love music. The thing is, this is the weird part. When you see them, they're either racially ambiguous as far as the women, gender ambiguous as far as the men, or if they're identifiably Black women, they tend to surround themselves with non-Black people. So it's still kind of, it's kind of weird. And these are the people that are making good music. We ain't talking about all this other wild stuff and garbage and whatnot. And women having breakdowns and writing on their face and all types of weird stuff and making, this music talking about how much they hate men and all this. We ain't even talking about that. We talking about the people making quality music. Just, So as long as that, and realistically, that sonic attack on the psyche of Black people, that's all it is. It's a psychological warfare through music. We talk about the other forms of media, and we talk about hip hop, but we don't talk about the destruction of love music in Black community, because that's been our thing since the music started being recorded, right? Black men expressing their eternal love for black women has been a theme in our music since stuff started being put on wax. And now you don't really hear it that much. And from the women too, you know. And you better not let Sister Najee see you say that. That's her dude right there, Kendrick. So that's an aspect that we don't look at. So you look at the media, TV, the Scandal, and some of the other stuff. I don't even really know some of the other stuff. In fact, it's just so much stuff on TV now with black men, with European women. I don't even know what the shows are. I just look, I see it, and I'm like, okay, I won't be watching that. So I don't even know. I just know it's multiple shows now. But Scandal kind of kicked it off. Yeah, so I'm through with this slide. Oh, okay. Yeah, so after all that, and fighting, and organizing, and teaching, and having events, and I will admit, the events were fun, right? The singles mixes, and the only thing we didn't get to speed dating, and the last thing we did was like a dating game, live dating game. All that came to a halt, of course. C-19 dropped. Everything changed. Everybody, I remember, I ain't got to reiterate it. World was shut down. Black love was placed on the back burner because everybody thought it was the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? And weirdly enough, in the midst of all that, Kevin Samuels rises. I remember, because I would listen to him. At that time, I would listen to him on the way to work. Because he was coming on late. And, that's when he started talking about this high value man thing and, all this stuff. And this, that whole ideology, right? Now, here's what's weird. And I always say this, there's a Quranic verse that says, do not mix up truth with falsehood. The reason why is because there were some things he said that were not correct, it's not good word. But I can't really think of some things he said that were right. Like he talked about marriage, the importance of marriage, and stuff like that. So I agree with that, right? But that changed the whole paradigm, because then, since then, women have just openly, again, I'm saying openly, flipped into Jezebel mode, right? Like the relationships being transactional just became an open thing. Like, all right, well, since all y'all high value man, I value some of that money over here. I value that to my Cashapp. That's what the women are saying, right? So you got all these dudes, and here's what deep is that people missed the whole part where he said that being a high value man, he set the parameters financially, which was basically $120K a year, which that was before inflation, so right, talking about $250,000 now. Anyway, okay, cool, whatever. But when he was talking about being useful to the group and all some of these other characteristics of a man, like nobody, all that stuff just got thrown to the way. Nobody remembers that. You know what I'm saying? I remember him explaining it, multiple times. And that whole part of his ideology just didn't resonate with him, right? And of course, there's one thing that he talked about to a degree, but he didn't emphasize the character of a man. Like, and again, that's the difference between African and European. Who cares if a man makes $100 million if he blatantly disrespecting you as a woman daily? You know what I'm saying? Your life is a living hell, but at least you're in a gilded cage type of thing, right? Or he's a threat to the community because he's a scammer, drug dealer, or human trafficker, but he got the bag. You see what I'm saying? So that just opened up the door for just dangerous precedents and dangerous ideas, and just between that, dating apps, the OnlyFans, the rise of hookup culture, and acculturated prostitution. Black relationships for the next generation is just in a shambles. And so now we're at the point where we're trying to pick up the pieces, but the whole paradigm has changed. And we have these myths that black men have about black women and black women have about black men that have to be debunked before you can even get started. Right? My favorite from black women is all men cheat. All men don't even have the capacity to cheat. I mean, keep it 100. A lot of dudes don't have any game. They can't cheat. They don't have any, as the young people say, they don't have any riz. You know, as we used to say back in the day, they are not macking any broads. It's not happening. He can't cheat. He ain't getting a woman. And I'm going to be completely honest. When it comes to cheating, women cheat as much or if not more than men. And yeah, hold up. I'm gonna stop right there. Because I know somebody heard that and is like, you're a liar. Alright. Now somebody's gonna ask the logical question. And DC, how you know that women can cheat? When I was younger, I had friends that were players, right? And brother broke down to me. He said, let me tell you something. You can't be no player and only deal with single women. It's not how it works. Even if you think a woman's single, if a woman is only really want to see you for the physical, it's probably because you got a man or a woman or both, but she only contacted you for the physical. She ain't trying to hang out. You ain't got to take her on no dates, nothing. She just hit you up for you to creep, right? That's because you're in a relationship. So when we in the game, I was like, oh, okay. And I started observing, and when I started observing, oh, let me tell you something. A woman will have you, well, you're not cheating because you're not in her relationship, but a woman will be cheating with you and you don't even know she ain't in a relationship until you see her with them folks. And you're like, oh, wow, that's crazy. You see what I'm saying? I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what I know. And the game is way dirtier now than it was then. So the idea that men cheat more than women have way more skill at it. Because there's some women that just, like I said, they just, they just trying to get theirs. That's why they tell young men don't leave with your wallet, because women don't have rules for the men that they desire. It's just plain and simple. The rules are for the men they don't desire. Again, I gave y'all the paradigm of the three places that a woman puts a man in instantaneously. I already broke that down. I'm not a spring chicken. I know what I'm talking about here. Right? So that's one of the things. All men cheat thing. The men say so much stuff. I can't even pull any one thing out of my mind. Sisters, y'all got any negative thing that y'all want to, condemn the men for always saying? Bring it up. What brother you got ripped off? He said, go ahead and get our guest for the polygamy program so we can get this out of the way. I don't even know who in the world I would bring for that. I'm not gonna do that until like the spring. Like, once I know my tech and stuff is right. That's when I do that. I have people. The sister said, y'all not married, it's not cheap. You know what? I wasn't gonna go there. But since the sister brought it up, now I can say it. Can we be honest here? To her point, there's a lot of people in like a lot of situationships and stuff. Right? Hey, sisters, let me tell y'all something. While I sip what's left of this coffee, which means I'm gonna be up to 2 a.m. If that man has not asked you to be his woman, and you haven't asked him what are the parameters around being his woman, what does that entail? You're in a situationship. You're not in a relationship, and therefore he's not cheating. These questions have to be asked. Right? I'm gonna be honest. If you ask the man, where is this going, and he gets irritated, it ain't going to the wedding altar. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You might have just start folding up clothes or whatever. Roll out. Now, if you just enjoying the ride, then enjoy the ride, then hey, that's cool too. And brother, you got ripped off talking about you giving up the box to someone while I'm investing in sheep. Brother, let me tell you something, bro. You know what? I ain't even going there. Sisters, I'm just saying this. Oh yeah, y'all gotta stop playing with these dudes. This new generation hyper emotional. They will, be playing these games with these dudes. They will do something crazy. Right? I see a lot of stuff happening on TV and on social media and stuff. Hey man, I'll play these games. And for brothers, let me tell you something. I'm gonna put y'all on the game. I know y'all ain't gonna listen, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If you just dealing with a sister, like y'all just friends with benefits, do not show off all your skills. I'm trying to put this as delicately as possible, because eventually I'm gonna monetize this. I guess I ain't even had time to monetize it. I had the other one monetized. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. Those of y'all who are gonna listen to this later, because you didn't get a chance to get it. Talking to brothers, do not show off all your skills if you have no intention of being with this woman and have her out here climbing the walls and acting crazy because she come and key your car and bust out your windows and all the other wild stuff, then you can be saying she crazy. Well, whose fault is that? I'm just keeping it. Look, it's SBL Talk, man. We keeping it wrong, right? And I understand. Look, I understand. You don't want the woman to talk bad about you, so you got to lay it down. I get it. Trust me. Women talk. Let me tell you something. Women talk. Women talk more than men. And if you ever been a man that walked into the room or walked into the house with a bunch of women there, and your girl is there, and then everybody's looking at you and giggling and whatnot, that's because you were the topic of conversation. And if y'all have been intimate in the last 2 days, that was the topic of conversation. Let me just tell you what it is. Now somebody gonna say, well, didn't say, how you know? How you think I know? Right? Because we keeping it real here. Another thing, I'm gonna say this. It makes sisters mad, but I'm gonna say this. Never let a fool prove to you that he's a terrible father the second time. DC, what the hell does that mean? Do not allow a fool to get you pregnant twice. If he shows you a fool or a nut or just not a good parent or whatever the first time, yeah, you gotta take the L. Now, of course, what am I gonna say? I'm gonna say, really? You should marry before you carry. Of course I'm gonna say that. But in the case of those who you can't undo that one, I'm just saying. Right? Just being completely honest to the system. Right? Because look, I understand dudes can fake, they can pretend, they can hide who they are for a while. But really you gotta observe. You give people enough time to real them show up. And that's why really trying to be married, that's why it's best to kind of wait to be intimate. But I understand. Some sisters gonna say, well, DC, we have needs. I know you have needs. And the players know you have needs. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, the players know you have needs. That's why they just wait. You know what I'm saying? Like 50 Cent song, patiently waiting. Right? So, with all that being said, the question becomes, all right, DC, do you have any solutions? And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. One thing, man, we have to be real enough to have honest conversations and talk straight. And I think, for the most part, man, those are things that could be done better. With events in person. People have a tendency to be more sincere in person when cameras ain't on. And because of, I'm not trying to knock nobody. People are like, oh man, you just jealous because nobody watches stuff. I see people doing stuff, and I see people have these forums or whatever. And I'm not saying they're not sincere, but I don't know. I don't know. But they're not talking to us. They're talking to the average black person, but to be honest, man, those who claim to be, or those who claim to be, and whatever label you want to put that on, you African centered, African nationalist, pro-black, so on and so on. We should be the vanguard in black love and being examples of healthy black relationships. And so I that should be a focus again. Now, it's a lot of other stuff going on, but as we saw from Barbara Amos Wilson, part of the plan to destroy us is to destroy our love for each other. Therefore, to counter the plan to destroy us, you have to raise the level of love, produce more love, right, amongst ourselves. Yeah, I'm not even really gonna go through this slide. Y'all, you know what's up. Y'all can read it or whatever. I was gonna show a clip of some of the madness of when George Floyd protests, but I couldn't sit there and watch them dudes twerking in front of the police, so I just said, nah, I'm good. Just real quick, my hopes for the upcoming time period. I said this before. It's a small change, but my greatest desire, man, is that the majority of black people realize the beauty of the blackness and the necessity of some type of unity, especially amongst black men and black women. As we see in the Trump era, these people are going to be out here acting buck wild. So, unify or die trying. And I hope that black men and black women specifically, can have honest dialogue about our relationship issues. And like I said, I find most of the current discourse to be either disingenuous or extremely shallow. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. If you're not having the discussion within the confines of understanding being warred upon, then you're probably going to come to the wrong conclusions. Amos Wilson said the same thing. And yeah, lastly, man, accept the reality we're at war for our survival, and we can't survive unless we learn to love ourselves. Lastly, before I close this out and put up the link, and put the link in the chat now. Link in the chat. All right, cool. Black conscious movement of 2010s failed to stop black gender war because of sabotage from within and attack from without. The unwillingness of many to oppose the rainbow assault left an opening for feminism, pedophilia, and misogyny to rise in the movement, not just to rise in the community, but rise within the movement. The lack of examples of long-lasting, healthy black relationships in the movement also hampered the growth of the movement and left open again. That void was filled by the rise of interracialism and multiculturalism, which undermined the popularity of blackness. And now open coonery is pretty much the order of the day. So, I think I got one more. And yeah, the rules of the show, for anybody that wants to add their commentary. Always be respectful to each other. Never use derogatory language towards black people. Women are not B's and H's. No 304s. Such language is prohibited. Once is a mistake, twice you get the boot. And we don't use the N-word. Plain and simple, we're not N-word, right? Marcus Garvey fought against N-wordism 100 years ago, and we're gonna fight against it right now. You can't find my email. Okay, it's coming along the bottom in a second, sister. It is. Okay, right after the Cashapp is the email. dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. That's dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. So there it is for you, sister. Now, lastly, you can speak with passion and understanding. Speak truth, but avoid the negative stereotypes propagated by the media against the complimentary gender. So give me a second. Black. Turn down the volume before you come on. All right, brother, go ahead.
BB48.
BB48.
Man, it's crazy that some of the things that you brought up, especially when it comes to the idea of what love is and the whole cheating factor. One thing I want to bring up is the fact that we are not practicing, and this is something that Black people are going to have to admit eventually, is that we are not practicing what we should be doing for, and I don't like using the word love, but we're not doing anything that is conducive to our cultural norm on what love is, because if we were, then we wouldn't see all the salacious, jumping in and out of people's beds. I've seen people say, I fell in love with this person and we got married in 3 months, 6 months. And I'm like, yo, you didn't take the time to know this person. You need to be with somebody, in my opinion. You should date someone for 1 to 2 years, and you should probably live with them for at least 6 months, at a minimum of 6 months, so you can find out who this person is. You don't want to get married to somebody and next thing you know, you find out they bathe and dress just like Yurugu. Well, I just put the soap on top of my head and let it go down and then get out the shower. You don't want to be with somebody who's going to grab your toothbrush for whatever purpose that they're going to use it for. These are things that we're not practicing as we're looking for sexual gratification, right? Crazy thing I seen today while at work. The TMZ was on the television, and I'm just looking at women in headgear, boxing headgear and boxing gloves. They had to be probably what's the bigger glove, brother? Is it the 5-pound glove or 5-ounce glove? Like the real big heavy boxer glove?
No, the standard is an 8-ounce, and I think the big one is either 10 or 12 ounce.
Okay, so these women had on.
But here's what people don't realize. I was just getting ready to say real quick, just from a technical standpoint, that 8-ounce gloves, the smaller ones, actually allow you to do more damage because it's less padding. So the bigger the glove is actually more padding. It kind of lessens the impact. But
which is what I was getting to, is that these women had on huge gloves and the headgear. They're in an MMA ring with men who are beating the bricks off of them. I was like, what the hell is going on here? This has to be a TV show. What's going on? And I looked and I was like, oh, this is TMZ. Wait, these are OnlyFans women? And I'm like, hold on. Now you guys have taken your pornography and you want to see your women be beat by men. And I don't think that psychological reasoning is kicking in with anybody. They're just looking at it and it's fun. It's hilarious and things like that. But these are the women who you guys are dropping tons of money on to see them do explicit sexual things. And this is not to make these women seem like that they're some sort of butterflies and all of this. That's just me bringing out the perverseness of what they see as love. Because when I look at the OnlyFans women, I'm disgusted. And again, I know this might be something that you can add on to, brother. The concept of women who work in the sex industry, whether it's pornography, soft porn, strippers, full nudity or no nudity, it doesn't matter. They call men dogs, pigs. I've, as an Uber driver, I can't even count how many rides to different strippers. And the way that they talk about the men versus the men who I pick up from the strip club, and they're like, she was feeling me, she was all on me. I'm telling you, she wanted me. I can bring her home. I got her phone number. I can get that. And it's like, yo, I picked these girls up 2 hours after I drop you off. Please believe these women are just using you, and they see you as dogs. But for that woman to call the man all kinds of disrespectful terms as if she is a goddess in what she is doing is a phenomenal thing to me. I don't understand that. Can you, I don't know, help me comprehend that one, brother?
Man, I'm gonna just say this real quick. When it comes to the more the game changes, the more it doesn't. Like the technology of the game has changed, but the game hasn't changed. Most, I'm not gonna say all, because some men just enjoy it because they enjoy it. But most men who consume that product are not men that largely get attention from women, right? Now, again, I put up the parameters of 3 spaces that women put men in. Those things don't change regardless of the woman's her profession. They still put all men in the same, right? And it's just that their parameters change because they put most men in the no shot category because what their interaction with men is. With that being said, strippers are not celibate. Even if they are selling it, right? So that dude probably can't get it like he think he can. And somebody already got it. But you know, the dysfunction of relationships and with something that's going on in relationships that people talk about, but we don't talk about. The fact that men are getting into long-term relationships and still not getting what they need from their women is what fuels this industry. Like, if men were in happy, fulfilling relationships with women, they would not this stuff wouldn't be as popular. I just put it like that. So the dysfunction between men and women, not just black men and women, but men and women in general in America, feeds a whole industry. And most of the people in that industry are related to the people who are in the music industry and related to the people who are in Hollywood. Like, so it's all big club, and they're all feeding each other's business with the media, the music, and the the dating apps and the OnlyFans and whatever else it may be. So we don't think about it this way, but it's all interrelated. So you had anything else you want to add to that, brother?
Just getting at the pathology of what has gotten us to this point, and I don't like saying us, but it has gotten our people to this point. You know, as you were talking about love music, R&B, and then neo soul, I never, as a child, I never liked R&B music. I don't know why. I inherently was kind of standoffish to it. But once neo soul music came out, I definitely did not like it. Because I seen neo soul as, from the man side, Baby, I cheated on you. I'm sorry. Please take me back. You had that from Usher,
Wait,
Avant.
Usher's not neo soul. Wait a minute, hold up. Usher is not neo soul. None of them people you mentioned are neo soul. Neo soul people like D'Angelo, Dwele. What was that dude's name? I forgot the other brother's name. Like them people you talking about, those were pop artists. Neo soul people never went beyond platinum one time. Other than D'Angelo. And if you throw the Roots in there, sort of, but the Roots, they're their own category. But my bad, go ahead.
No, well, then I would just say then the love music of the mid to late 90s to me seemed more along the terms, at least again from men, it seemed more along the lines of "Baby, I cheated, I'm sorry, take me back," and I'm crying because you won't take me back. Whereas women, you did hear a nurturing love come from out of their lyrics that was something that was holistic. And when you think about the dynamics of the black man being removed for 3 decades now.
Well, hold on. Let me say something else. Super. Really, neo soul didn't even really kick off until like 96. So that you got to put it within the parameters of the time period. So like them people you're talking about. Anyway, my bad. Go ahead. I'm very particular about musical genres. Like if you don't fit in because you don't, what you're doing isn't within the confines of that music, I don't put you there. I'll put you somewhere else. Like I'm just very particular with that. And there are very few genre. There are very few artists who can span multiple genres. You know what I'm saying? And we pretty much know who they are because they're legendary. But proceed.
No, just the dynamic of 3 decades of the black man being attacked, targeted, and removed from the black family to the birth of neo soul, or at least love music of the mid to late 90s, going into the 2000s, of it really looking as if black women were now trying to engage and save the black man, but the black man was now wrapped up in rap music and rap ideology and pornography and disrespecting women to the highest extent. So it's as if the black woman reached her hand out, the black man slapped that out the damn way. And so do you think that is a dynamic that has led to what we're seeing as black women are just like, I tried. Hey, not to include, of course, well, I can't say not to include, but to include, of course, the machinations of our enemies to also get us to this gender warring. But just at that holistic music level, black women tried to reach out, black men did not. Could that possibly be the result of what we're looking at now?
But here's the problem with that. Because even before we got to the neo soul part, remember, TLC was making No Scrubs, Eric the Wonderful, sometimes wonderful Erykah Badu was telling us to call Tyrone. So it wasn't as one-sided as you made it seem. I just think it was strictly a genre thing. Like the closer the music was to rap, it was like the more it became, in essence, to use everybody's favorite word, toxic. And the further away from rap it got, the more holistic it was. And then as time went on, it just wasn't nothing holistic. Because by the time you get to, I guess, the late 2000s, whenever those dudes were making songs like I'm in love with a stripper and, like you said, Usher's next album and all that. Yeah, by then, it was totally out of hand. So, I mean, I don't really see it as one-sided as you see it, but you said you never liked the music, and I was listening to it, and it went both ways. it wasn't a one-sided thing. But anything you got to add, brother, before I let you go?
Just that to close out, I'm gonna say Kendrick Lamar's trash. I don't care what nobody says.
The opinions expressed by the guests are theirs and theirs alone, and not those of the
but I will say he is definitely better than Drake. I did start listening to Drake when he first came out, and I was like, what is up with this rap love type music? I mean, it sounds okay, but it ain't hitting on nothing. I did not know Kendrick actually came out in 2010, so they both kind of hit the scene at the same time. But just watching the de-evolution of our culture through all forms of media, I believe, is something that has greatly contributed to the downfall of Black love. And my solution is walk the hell away from it all. You know, I have no problem with people having their hobbies, but there is a problem once your hobbies become your way of life. And that's very detrimental when you need to actually interact with people and you find somebody doesn't like the same hobby that you like, or they totally frown upon your hobby, and now you see this person as your enemy. Get to conversating with people again. You know, being in those lockdowns, that should have been the main focus and goal of many people, but a lot of us did become isolated and did not. Some of us are probably still being the ostriches, as I say, you know, with the heads down in the ground, and they don't care about what's going on above ground of them, as long as they can see what's going on the ground for them, and they know it's safe there as long as they're there. That's a very dangerous thing. And if we're going to get back to any kind of love, man, you got to take that head out of the hole and start looking at people and interacting. Straight Black love.
All right, brother. Straight Black love. Yeah, it's going to take